So hi everyone, I hope you're enjoying your homework extension. So use this time wisely. Um, yeah, I know that many of you had problems with figuring out all the environment stuff. So yeah, have fun. I was also going through the comments. By the way, let me maybe share my screen. So what we will do today, we will not show you the solution to the SQL homework. We will show it on Wednesday after the deadline. So of course it doesn't make much sense to share it now, or you'll just put the answers. I lost my screen. Okay, this is my screen. So what I want to do now is I just want to share my screen with Slido. Hopefully not the download folder this time. Okay, and so
No,
let me.
we want to see which movie you downloaded this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are looking for recommendations.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, so you can start asking questions now on Slido. So as for recommendations, I recently I was watching Foundation. This is a TV series based on Isaac Asimov.
Yeah, true.
Which is quite nice. So I was reading reviews on that TV show, and many people said that it's very bad. It doesn't look anywhere near the book, the original book. I haven't read the book, so for me it was fine. So
Yeah.
let me
It's on
check
Apple
live
TV,
chat.
right?
Sorry?
It's on Apple TV, no?
Yeah,
That
Apple
series,
TV.
yeah. Yeah.
So let me check live chat actually if there are any questions there. Yeah, by the way, I was going through the comments. So some of you did submit homework, and there was a field with feedback. And some of the comments were like, we in the initial 1 week ago when we were talking about time estimates, so we mentioned like 2 to 3 hours would be enough to finish this per week, to finish a week's material. And many people said that they needed to spend a lot more and that they felt stupid. So I just wanted to comment on that, for us, all of us have experience. So maybe I am not a data engineer, but still I have been coding for, I don't know, last 10 years, if not more. So for me, it's for all of us, it's very hard to give estimates how much time exactly it will take for you, especially like maybe when you haven't done these kind of things before, and everyone is different, right? So it's always very difficult to give estimates. So if for you it takes more than 2 hours or 3 hours, you shouldn't feel like stupid. So just we need to say that it's very difficult to give estimates, and you shouldn't treat this as how to say, like as if you spend more than 2 hours, then yeah, it's not for you. It's not like that. And please take your time. I hope you have enough time to actually spend on that course. And it's fine if it takes more time for you. Also, some of the comments were that it was a bit chaotic the beginning, and it wasn't clear what to follow. I must acknowledge that it was a bit chaotic as well for us. It's also a bit of a learning curve for us how to actually communicate between us. So there are 4 of us working on that. So we are learning also as well how to best arrange everything, how to organize everything. So please be patient with us. And yeah, we will try to make it work. And thanks a lot for giving us feedback. This is very valuable. So please keep the feedback going, and we will look at this and we will do what is possible to actually improve. And one of the things we want to do is add numbers right now to the videos. So maybe you saw that for this week we already started uploading videos, and they already have numbers. So hopefully it will make it a bit easier for you to follow the videos and know in which order you should do this. So I guess that's all I wanted to say for the intro. Yeah, so people say that Anna was writing that she's a junior data engineer and she spent 8 hours already. And then some people say that 10 hours. Yeah, I hope it was worth your time and you enjoyed doing this. And yeah, we're just not very good at giving estimates, especially how much time it will take for you. So should we start with questions? You're seeing my Slido, right?
Yes, we can see that.
Okay, so not all the Foundation TV show that I have in my download.
No,
Maybe I should
not
cut
today.
this out. Uh, So let's
Too
start with
late.
the first question. So could you please explain what code we should load to GitHub? I think the question refers to the homework form where we ask to submit your code. So here you can just create a repo in GitHub, create a folder there, homework one, and put your SQL files there, and just give a link to this file when you submit. It can be anything else. If you are more GitLab kind of person, you can create a repo in GitLab, but it should be something publicly accessible. Put your SQL queries there and submit it with the form. Okay, I think it's clear. So I got to know about this course today. Is it possible for me to begin now? I think it is. We still have 2 days to finish your first homework, although maybe it could be a bit challenging, like considering that some people spent already 10 hours last week, and now if you need to catch up, so maybe take it easier. You can join it now, but maybe don't rush and try to do homework 1 and homework 2 now. And again, I want to say that at the end, when we say that you have finished the course, we look only on the project. Like if you completed the project, then we consider that you completed the course. So don't be stressed too much about homework as well. Anything to add?
No, I think good. I think it's definitely doable. Even if you start now, it's still doable. I will also encourage you to look into the topics. And if you see that, hey, you know what, Terraform is not something you want to learn right now, maybe you want to skip that. Similarly for Docker, similarly for any particular technology you think you are comfortable with, you can skip those videos for now if you are already running late on these topics.
Yeah, I also want to understand peer project review for late joiners, how it will work. So for homework, we will use automatic grading. So you will not need to review homeworks of each other. But for the project, which is something that we plan for week 7 till week 10, I think. So basically the end of the course. So this is, nobody is late there yet because it hasn't happened yet. So don't worry about that. Material for week 2 uploaded partly. Yes, there are 4 videos already. Yeah, I think 3 from you, Ankush, and 1 from me. There will be definitely more. How many do we expect more? Like 3 videos, Sijal?
3 to 4 more. Yeah.
Yeah. So soon, stay tuned. How do we know if homework was accepted? There will Google form works fine. Don't worry about that. So if you clicked submit, then it worked and it was accepted. But I guess your question is how many scores you got, like you want to see if your answers were correct. So for that, we will show the solution on Wednesday. So we'll just upload a video with the solution, and then also there will be some sort of leaderboard. Maybe I can actually show you, because we already did something similar for the other course. So in the other course, I just want to show you how it looks like. So there is a leaderboard that just shows how many scores you get for each homework. So for example, we don't show your email here. Of course, it's a hash of your email, and then you see how much points you got for each question. And then there is a leaderboard with total amount of points. So you will know soon if which answers your answers were correct or not. Does someone want to get this?
I can take that. I can take that. So how relevant is Terraform in a data engineering job? Would getting the Terraform Associate certificate make sense for a junior DE? I would say I also wanted to address this based on some feedback we've received and the course that we have scoped around with. So Terraform is particularly a DevOps based technology. And because data engineering has a close overlap with with DevOps to building the infrastructure stuff, that is why we also introduced Terraform as more as a prerequisite or as an extra in order to use it. So this is how we've designed our course. We did not scope it in a way where we are covering the basics of Terraform. That was not the intention. It was more like a part of the week one prerequisites that we are using Terraform in order to build our infrastructure so that we can focus on the more core parts of data engineering. So to answer this question, I would say for a junior DE, maybe it is not as important in my opinion. So maybe a Terraform associate certificate is something that you can ask if your current job is or your company is requiring you to do it, if you're heavily focused on infrastructure work. Otherwise, I would just say just learn the basics of Terraform if Terraform is really required at your job in order to build the infrastructure stuff. Yeah. So I hope that answers.
Yeah, thank you. There was also a question from Alvaro that I cannot find right now that is related. Maybe we can take that one as well because it's related to Terraform.
If Kubernetes can spin up containers when needed, what is the use case for Terraform? I think maybe someone can help me answer this because I am not really an expert on the Kubernetes side. But Terraform lets you build static code templates for your infrastructure in an IAC style manner. So in case you want to have a state-based infrastructure, in case a set of infrastructure resources are destroyed at any point in time, and you want to restore it from a certain image or a certain state, Terraform is useful here. In case of Kubernetes, it's actually more like a spin-up cluster. So you can deploy your services onto a Kubernetes cluster. So the use cases are really different in this case. But maybe Ankush, Alexei, you can add more on the Kubernetes part, especially.
Yeah, definitely. I think Kubernetes and Terraform are very different. So when you think about Kubernetes, you are thinking about deploying microservices or some sort of applications. And that can be done by Terraform using, AWS Fargate or AWS ECS solutions. But Terraform does way much more. So when you, let's assume when you do not have a Kubernetes, you will use Terraform to set up your Kubernetes cluster. But you will also use Terraform to set up, let's say, S3 buckets. In the next week course, you will see that we use Terraform to set up a transfer service from Google Cloud Platform. And all of this is not possible on Kubernetes. Yes, you can argue that there are certain services like Spark, Flink. They are coming up with these new solutions which can be run on Kubernetes. But still, for example, you want to run Kafka clusters. In those cases, Kubernetes is not a go-to solution. And you would like to have a more stable solution or a stable infrastructure in that case. And that's where Terraform would definitely help you to set these kind of things, set these kind of clusters up.
And I would add, as a person who is not very, who is quite far from infrastructure, usually we have people dedicated to that in our company. So Terraform helps you not go to web UI and click things. So instead of going there, clicking, you just have a file where you say that I have this bunch of resources that I set up in our cloud. And then let's say if for whatever reason you need to move from one account to another, it has happened multiple times at work. So we needed to move to migrate to a different account. We would just do Terraform destroy in one account. Well, actually we would destroy later, but we will do Terraform plan and apply on one account and then go back to the old account, do Terraform destroy. Of course, it still takes some time, but you have everything in your code. You know exactly what kind of services you use, like what kind of buckets are there. Like we use AWS, so for us, what kind of Lambda functions are there, what kind of, like basically all the resources are there. So, and Kubernetes is could be just one resource in this Terraform file. Yeah, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so there is a comment that the Terraform is infrastructure as code and Kubernetes is infrastructure. So I think it's
Exactly.
quite a concise way of summarizing it. Does anyone want to take this?
I can try, but help me out, okay? So how important is Docker to use for data engineering? For example, installing Hadoop or Spark on Docker. I think in today's world, in today's time, if you are doing any sort of software engineering or engineering, data engineering, backend engineering, you need some knowledge of Docker because the world has moved around us in a way that you need to build your application, you need to deploy your application, and you need to maintain your application. And the easiest way to do this is to use Docker. So I would say it is important. It is definitely important. Would you install Hadoop or Spark on Docker? Maybe not. Maybe you will use dedicated hardware for doing this, and you will not do it on Docker. But definitely learning Docker is there is no way around it. I think you need to have at least basic knowledge of Docker. I am myself not an expert in Docker, but I do feel that knowing the basics, knowing how to get around it, knowing basic commands will really help you to grow in your career.
Yeah, maybe I could add a point of view of a data scientist. So in data science, we often need to use libraries that things like XGBoost that require some sort of native dependencies, and native dependencies, these are these things that you install with apt-get install in Linux, in Ubuntu, like OpenMP and things like this. And let's say if I want to use XGBoost in Spark, then I have a lot of troubles. Like, how do I prepare my package with all the dependencies in such a way that I can submit to Spark cluster and it doesn't fail? And when I found out that in Spark we can actually submit Docker containers, so we can prepare, package all the dependencies in Docker and then submit it to Spark, and then Spark would run it. So Spark would use all the dependencies specified with Docker. Then my life became a lot easier. So then I didn't need to worry about like how exactly I prepare the zip archive. So for those who don't know Spark, maybe what I'm saying doesn't make much sense for you, but believe me, my life became easier because I can just prepare a Docker file instead of figuring out how exactly I should run apt-get on Spark nodes. So that was quite helpful for me personally.
Yeah, and also to add to that, like I'm sure you must have read about the advantages of Docker and why it is like useful in every stream of software engineering, be it backend or front end or even infrastructure. But yeah, it has a lot of advantages in terms of usability and portability, and also like really downsizes your effort in terms of like preparing deployment based code. So yeah, very low maintenance, and you can mimic your or mock your production environment onto your Docker version and test things out without having to deploy it to production. So yeah, this is why I would say it would be important as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that there is a question about, can you please make a video on Docker? I'm very glad you asked that because I think we actually did a few videos about that. So check it out. So I think, yeah, we answered
In week
that.
1, right?
In week 1, yes, exactly.
Exactly. I think it's done by Alexei. So
Yeah, it could have been me, yes. So does anyone want to take that?
Alexi, maybe you can answer since you've structured and ordered it really well.
Yeah, it feels very difficult to follow along. How should I approach this course? So I'm curious to know what exactly your difficulties are. Is it not knowing what to do next or not knowing what to start? But maybe let me take a stab at that. So first of all, you go to our GitHub repo, and then in GitHub repo, so we have things structured in weeks. So you click on week 1, for example, if you want to know to learn the materials from week 1. So week 2 is, so this is what we're preparing right now. So it will look different once we finish. It will look like this week 1 will be more concise. but to know about the details, you will need to go there. And then here we have like everything you need. So starting from this introduction, this is the stream we had 1 week ago. Then all the code about Docker, and then GCP, Terraform, and then setup for environment. And actually this environment setup is if you didn't have any problems installing Docker, installing Terraform, installing Google Cloud, you can just ignore this thing. But if for some reasons, for example, you have troubles running PG, Postgres in Docker, for example, you can check this video. It shows you a step-by-step, it's a step-by-step video that shows how you can set up environment using a virtual machine on Google Cloud. So this video is more like a bonus, and you can watch it at any point, but then you should follow this order like here. I think in the playlist we actually have first Google Cloud intro. I don't think it actually matters because this introduction to Google Cloud Platform is a very short video. It doesn't matter if you watch it before Docker or after. Yeah, and then we will try to follow the same format for other weeks. So we will have multiple sections in each week. So for example, in week 2, we have 2 sections, 3 sections, right? Or yeah, like data lake and orchestration. So first there is one video on data lake, and then there is basics about orchestration, and then there will be a bunch of videos about Airflow. So yeah, to answer your question is go to our GitHub repo and follow the approach we suggested there. And if you have any difficulties, feel free to go to Slack and ask there. I hope I answered that question. And if you have difficulties with something in particular, yes. Also, what will help is going through Slack channels and looking what kind of problems people have. But it's very likely that maybe a problem that you have, somebody else had as well, and there is a solution in one of the threads. So, do you want to add anything?
I think it's good. And also, please feel free to write us in Slack, and I hope the community and us can help you out in whatever problem you're facing.
Yeah, by the way, since you're talking about that, it's amazing to see how helpful you are to each other. That's like big heart. Thanks a lot for doing that, because I don't know about you, but for me personally, it's very overwhelming opening Slack channel and seeing like 50 new messages. And then I'm very happy to see that you already helped basically resolve all these issues. So that's a big thank you to you all for doing that. That's very helpful for us, because I'm not sure how we would be able to answer all these questions. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, +1 to what Alexei said. Thank you so much for helping each other out. But yeah, if you have any further pressing questions, we'll definitely answer, and we are definitely looking at the threads. It's just that we won't be constantly available, but we can answer. We will answer as and when possible.
+2 to what Alexei said.
So, do we want to do a GitHub tutorial? Probably not.
No.
Yeah, so I think
we would be using GitHub commands.
Yeah, so
we would be using GitHub Go ahead.
Please. I just wanted to say, like, if you need a refresher on GitHub, maybe you can just Google GitHub tutorial or getting started with GitHub. You'll find a lot of amazing resources. I'm not sure we will be able to do better than these available resources. So, sorry, I'm shutting up now. Ankush, go ahead.
No, I think I was going in the same direction, that we will be using Git continuously in our videos, and obviously we would be using the commands. So I hope that might help you in refreshing your GitHub knowledge, but the best way would be to do a small YouTube search on GitHub, and I'm pretty sure there would be really good videos out there.
Yeah, if anyone comes across a very nice GitHub tutorial that was very helpful to you, please share with the rest of the students. So what is the main challenge for data pipeline, and what do you advise for companies which want to build first-time data architecture infrastructure? Maybe a real data engineer should take that.
Ankush, I'm not a data engineer anymore, so.
All right, let me try. Okay, if you are starting, I would suggest you to keep your basics correct, but try to keep it as simple as possible. The more you complicate the data pipeline, the harder it will be. Okay, let's rephrase and maybe say first about the basics. So use Terraform, use Docker, use Spark, for example, or any other technology which can scale. Don't use Hadoop, use S3 or Google Cloud Storage if you are already on the cloud services. Try to use already the services provided by your cloud provider. For example, in AWS, there can be EMRs, which is Elastic MapReduce, which can deploy your Spark jobs. Or in Google Cloud Services, there is Dataproc, Dataflow. There is also an Airflow Cloud Composer, which is Cloud Composer in Google Cloud. There's BigQuery. So try to use them as much as possible, but try to keep everything, the whole data pipeline, as simple as possible. The less steps you are going to have, the easier it's going to be. Only introduce another step or another, I don't know, landing zone or something if you really need to. The more simple you keep it, it's easier to maintain, it's easier to change, and obviously you will change it. Obviously, it will get complicated when you grow and have other use cases. But try to keep the basics right, and in the beginning, just start with the simple use cases.
Oh, what is
Anything
a
to add,
landing
Sejal?
zone? What is a landing zone? You mentioned that. I'm not familiar with the term.
So for example, if you are doing a data pipeline for the first time, you might want to consider something like a data lake or a data warehouse solution. And that would be your landing zone. But in what cases, in a lot of cases, what I see is people already start to think in a very wide ranges and say, okay, this is my raw zone, raw landing zone. And then there is my, I don't know, first transformation landing zone. And this is my main transformation landing zone. They also name it as bronze and gold. And yes, you can keep maybe a couple of them, but don't overcomplicate it. Don't keep like 7 of them because that will just be an overkill for your first pipeline.
Yeah, and to add to that, I would say the crux of a data pipeline is in the end and at an atomic level an ETL pipeline. So there is the basic steps are extract, transform, load, or if you were using the modern version, it will be ELT, which is extract, load, and transform. So just focus on those, building those core components before you add more complexity around those areas and how can you automate it and things and so on and so forth, just like what Ankush said.
I have nothing to add. Okay. What are your suggestions for reinforcing what we have learned? I was able to get everything working, but I want things to stick. Do you have any suggestions?
So we would be having a project in the end, right? The last 3 weeks. So we haven't exactly finalized our idea for the project, but we would be covering all of the areas or all the modules covered from the previous 6 weeks so that you can build a project around that. But Alexi, maybe you have something concrete
so
here.
what you can think already in terms of project, we will still need to think exactly how to organize the project. It's still not finished, but you can already try to look for a data set that is that you want to process, and then think what exactly you want to do with this data set. You can already start exploring this data set and basically try to do what we did here in this course, but with this data set. Another thing that you can do to reinforce what we learned is I see some people do this, take notes, and not just take notes in your notebook, but share these notes. So put this in GitHub, for example, or Notion. It's very time consuming, I know, but for me personally, notes that I were taking like 5 years ago, I still remember things from there. Things that where I wasn't taking notes, I don't remember them. So these things, like to me personally, taking notes and then processing them, kind of regurgitating, and then putting them out there is very helpful for information to stay in my brain. So yeah, that would be one recommendation, but it's very time consuming.
Yeah. I also have another recommendation. If you are already in a job of data engineering or backend development, and you see an opportunity to work on Docker or Terraform, take it, because now you have learned it in the first week. Why not try it out in real life in production instances? If you are not working right now, maybe you're a student, then just try to build a Docker image on your own. A simple hello world will do. You do not have to overcomplicate it. And I think that will stick with you forever, because if you build something like a Docker file from scratch, and you Google around, you try to figure out what's the best approach to it, how you will deploy it, and if you are successful in doing it, it will really stick with you than anything else. Similarly for Terraform, you now have a Google account, Google Cloud Service account. You have a Terraform which will work for it. You know how to run it. Just create another storage bucket. Just create another, another transfer service, or Google around what would be the most easiest way to, what is the most easiest resource to create in Google Cloud Services, and just do it. I think those things which you do hands-on on your own would really stick with you.
I guess
I hope that helps.
Yeah, that's probably the best advice, to just get your hands dirty. Are there data engineering freelancing jobs remote worldwide or project compared to web software engineering? I'm not sure I am able to parse the question, but my understanding is are there more data engineering freelance jobs than web software engineering? I don't know if any of you are monitoring. My gut feeling is no, there are not so many freelance jobs compared to web software engineering, but simply because there are so many people who need a website, like a WordPress website, compared to data pipeline. Maybe not so many people need that, but still, it's sufficient to find a couple of gigs here and there. But I'm not a freelancer, so I'm just speculating.
Neither am I. But what I can tell you is, if you are good, you will definitely find a freelancing job in data engineering. Pretty sure about that.
And it's not fair to compare with web software engineering, because the demand for a simple website is so high that I think this is the most popular engineering kind of remote job. Okay. General architecture was shown last week. Could you go a bit into details about the technologies we are learning, Docker and Terraform, first of all? I'm not sure if the question is about internals of these technologies, but
maybe I can answer that. So if I understand correctly, what they are talking about is the architecture that we have on the GitHub repository. I'm not sure if it represents Docker or Terraform. That is because Docker and Terraform are tools used in order to create your data engineering framework. But the actual data engineering framework, the architecture that you see on the GitHub repository, for that, for that framework, the main technologies would be starting from this week onwards, which is Airflow and Airflow for orchestration. Then there would be dbt for transformations. There would be Spark for another kind of batch processing transformation related job, and Kafka for streaming. So these are the core set of technologies generally used in data engineering, and also what we will be covering in terms of the architecture that you speak about, if I got your question correctly. Anything you guys would like to add?
No, nothing from my side.
Yeah.
So it's what you're saying is just a foundational technology that is there, but it's not visible, right?
Yeah.
Can I still submit my assignment after today? Well, after today is very long time, but if you're talking between today and Wednesday, 10 p.m. Central European time, then yes. After that, no, we'll close the form. So, yep. Is it sufficient to complete the final project to get the certificate for this course, or one should also complete all the homework successfully to get, I don't know how to read this, but yeah, the first part
A
is
higher
correct.
score?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Yeah, so you don't need to complete all the homeworks to get a certificate. So homework is for you to make sure that you understand what is going on, to get feedback. That in the homework we try to ask questions to make sure that, for example, one of the questions for this homework was to run Terraform in it. So we want to make sure that you have set the environment to be able to continue in the next for this week, right? But yeah, so for you, for example, if you already know some things, but you want to maybe revise others, so you don't have to do that homework. You just you just need to focus on what you want to learn, and then you will do a project, and then you will get a certificate. So, and this way we want to emphasize the importance of doing projects, because this is how you actually learn. And yeah, then you might have a question, but why do I need to bother with homework? And then for homework, we give a little bit of incentive in terms of scores. So that's basically it. I don't know. Did I forget to say anything?
No, I don't think so. But I have a question. So the homeworks will get scores, right? And the final project will also get score. So if you do not do the homework, you might not be on the leaderboard, but you will still get the certificate. Is that correct?
Yeah, so you will be on the leaderboard. You'll just will not. So let me open. So do I have it here? Yeah. So I think if I let me see. So if I scroll down, so the leaderboard is long, and there are people who, let's say, attempted only. Well, trust me, there are people who attempted only some projects, so they are still here, and yeah. So and then at the end there will be another tab here saying who passed the project, and there will be like a separate leaderboard for them, those who actually did the projects as well. So, and that course is still running, so there is still one more project that is almost over. So it's a little bit overlapped with this data engineering course, because we didn't want to, we had to extend this machine learning engineering course, and we didn't want to wait too much with data engineering one. So I hope if some of you are taking both at the same time, I hope you're not too overwhelmed. Okay. Is there any way to collate all the frequently asked questions into a knowledge repository so that it's easier to self-help in troubleshooting issues? So for that, we will ask for your help, because it's very difficult for us to prepare the materials and also create a curated list of frequently asked questions. So if any of you can help us, you're already doing this in Slack, answering questions. But yeah, if you can help us and do that, we will much appreciate that. But I am not sure if it's physically possible for us to right now also invest time in that. At least for me, I'm not sure I'll be able to do that. Yeah, so please, if you want to do this, we will be happy to support you, and you can just create pull requests, for example, for our repo with a frequently asked questions section, or for example, in readme, if there is a place where many of you have errors, maybe you can create a pull request saying, if you have an error like this, please do that, and it will be helpful for many people. So, do you want to add anything?
No, I think
Sounds good.
yeah, I think Slack is the best way. If we have Slack forever, so that would be the easiest way for us, at least.
Yeah, with Slack, I think it's a bit overwhelming right now with the amount of questions there, and many of them are repetitive. So I kind of wished we had a list with frequently asked questions as well, so then it could be easier to direct it. It's just putting it together is not, like, it requires attention, basically.
Maybe we can start.
Go ahead.
Maybe we can start pinning. Maybe we can start pinning important things we see are coming quite often, and that could be the first landing zone for people to search.
Yeah, the other thing I was actually thinking about is maybe we can create a GitHub README page of FAQs, and people can just create pull requests to add any questions there. And in case there are any pull requests with repeated questions, we can just mark it as stale because they can already go and look over there. On the other end, as Alexi said, like since we are having a lot of time crunch and resource crunch both, we are swamped with preparing the material as well as managing our full-time job. So we are trying to do as much as we can. But if someone from you can volunteer to prepare maybe a Notion doc, for example, and organize it and organize all the questions asked in the Slack channel to put it all onto that Notion doc or Google Doc, wherever you like. That would be very, very much helpful for us.
Thank you. So the next question is best practices to ingest data at scale. For example, log files getting created every 1 minute and an API. What would you guys use?
This is something that I was planning to cover in the course material for this week. The videos for that have not been updated yet. There are multiple ways actually, you can use cloud services, some of which are on an auto scaling mode. Some of them provide that kind of feasibility to auto scale clusters such as EC2 clusters. And the other ways are if you're having a very local project and still you want to run it on scale, then some data scientists might say that you need a better hardware. But yeah, I don't know, having more GPUs. So I think this question is a little broad, but we would be covering different use cases in our course material. But Ankush, do you have anything to add here specifically?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of things which is missing from this question. So just taking your example, it really depends how are you ingesting it and how are you consuming it. So if you are consuming it in real time, you will have a totally different architecture. If you're consuming it in a batch way, then why do you care of consuming it every 1 minute? So these kind of questions, it would be way much easier to answer this if we know all of this upfront. And I will actually encourage you to put this in our engineering channel in Slack. And I hope somebody can pick this up, or we can also pick this up. But I will also suggest you to think about the end usage, like how are you ingesting it, how are you using it, because that will also determine how the architecture will look like.
I was fighting with the charger. Sorry. That's fine. Awkward pause.
I thought we lost you for 1 minute.
No, I was I have this USB Type-C thing which is supposed to go either way, right? So you don't need to, but it was still didn't get. Anyways, yeah, so let me mark it as accepted. When can we say ourselves that we are junior or senior data engineer? Is there any scale? How can we know? Spark, Hadoop certifications. I think Ankush, you already mentioned the distinction between senior and non-senior data engineer. I think there was also a discussion in Slack. Yeah, do you remember what you answered last time?
No, no, not at all. Do you mind reminding me something? Completely.
Yeah, I don't remember. But to me, it's not about certificates. It's not about whether you know Hadoop or not. It's more about like how can you lead a project, be a technical leader in a project, make decisions there, drive these decisions. So this is when you can do this, then you're a senior. Like when you can say, okay, we want to use this technology, not this technology because X, Y, Z reasons, right? And then you can call yourself a senior. Of course, it varies from company to company. In some companies like Amazon, senior is a very it's already like a leadership role. In other smaller companies, maybe senior, like it's less technical leader, but still, yeah. But I think to answer your question about scale, you can just Google for public career progression matrices, or I think this is how you do this career progression matrix. And then I think Dropbox has it public. There are some companies that have it public, and then you can check there. So this is how I would answer that question.
Absolutely. It really depends upon, if you are talking in terms of the company, then it really depends upon the company you are in. But if you are talking in terms of your personal, then you can set up a scale based upon what do you think. Yeah, it's really specific.
And certificates, I don't know. I personally don't care much when I'm hiring, for example.
I have 0 certificates, so.
Okay. Do the homeworks have deadlines? I found a lot of issues in week 1 in terms of dependencies and versions working with each other of software. Yes, we have deadlines to keep you focused, so it will help you to stay focused. And of course, these deadlines are, as I said, homeworks. If you feel overwhelmed and you cannot finish in time, don't worry. The course, the certificate that you will get, even though we just said that certificates don't matter. Yeah, this one maybe also doesn't matter much. What matters is the knowledge you get at the end. Yeah, don't go hard on yourself. So like if you miss a deadline, then it's fine. But yeah, in terms of scores, yeah, maybe you will not get scores for these homeworks, but who cares? As long as you learn something new, then that's the most important thing. But yeah, sorry to hear that you found a lot of issues. Hopefully you were able to resolve them. Should I mark it as answered, or you want to add something?
No, I think that's good.
It doesn't matter. Like this question is, should they be SQL files? I think this is a question about homework, how exactly you should hand in your code. Doesn't matter. Just put it somehow in any format, and then add a link to GitHub.
I actually have a suggestion here. So if you are doing this just for yourself and to learn, maybe want to do it something for your learning purposes, that's perfectly fine. You can do it in MD file, in whatever file. But if you are thinking of this as a project you would like to highlight to a future employee, or you want to attract future employers by putting this on LinkedIn or open source, then I will actually also focus upon putting the right file formats and everything, because it's easier in GitHub to read those. It's easier in when you download them locally to open it up in IntelliJ and just have the color coding there. So I think it's kind of nice to do it, but don't stress like too much on it. If you put it in MD, that's fine, but maybe in the future you can put it in SQL.
Just wondering, students will post projects code to public GitHub repos. Will the projects change for the next Zoomcamp run? So the project will be individual projects. So each one of you will need to come up with your own project and do this end to end. That's why it's not really a problem. So for the next run, it will be the same. Like the concept will be the same. You will need to find a project on your own and solve it. We will help you find data sets for that, but it will be something that you will have to do end to end. That's why it's not a problem if projects stay in GitHub. So, and maybe also your question is about homework. So homework, whether homework will stay the same or not, this is something up to us to figure out. Because right now, if every one of you posts the solution to homework in GitHub, then theoretically it's possible to find the answers and then put them. But then I would really question, like, why would you do that? Like, why would you find answers online and put this in form? And what does it actually give you? Like, are you learning, or you're just doing this to get the scores? So I hope you're doing this for learning, not for scores. So anything to add? Yeah, because there was Yes, sorry.
Do we have a plan to do a next Zoomcamp?
Let's see how overwhelmed we are by the end of this one. If we have any energy left.
Next one would be at least we don't have to create the videos again.
Yes, that's the plan with Machine Learning Zoom Camp. So I want to restart it in September with the same videos. I'll just need to figure out what exactly we're going to do with the homework. Like, should it be a new one? Anyways, yeah, there was a question in Slack about if it's a problem that people now start sharing the answers in GitHub, well, to this homework because somebody can reuse it. Just don't reuse it. I think that's just pinky swear that you will not do this. And if you do this, then I don't know, you will get on the naughty list of Santa Claus and you will not receive a gift. So I don't know, that's the best that we can suggest here, because other things will complicate the process. Anyways.
Yeah, sorry, Alexei. There was
Yes.
a message on the live chat that
Yes.
the homework points are only for the leaderboard, so there is no real benefit. And I think that's true. Plus, if you have seen, we use hash, so it's next to impossible to know whose email ID it is. So there is actually no credit or no fame in it.
But, actually, what I wanted to do is create a page in GitHub for Machine Learning Zoom Camp with top 100 people there. So there will be some fame, some amount of fame at the end for people who agree to be there. So I will have to ask explicit permission, like, do you allow me to put your name there? But again, I would question your motivation, like if you really want to get on that leaderboard without completing the homework. So I'm not talking about anyone specific, but why do you even ask that question? I remember for Zoom Camp, the question was like, what if I cheat? Will I get caught? Like, to cheat, like it's not my problem, right? It's your problem. Anyways, sorry for. I think I just accidentally marked something as.
Yes, you did.
Do you remember what was there?
No, actually not. Can you go back?
Yeah, I think I can go back. Audience queue archive. I think this one. Do you have any advice for people looking for entry-level data engineering roles, and what a good resume? I don't know, how do you pronounce resume? What a good CV looks like. So, does anyone want to take that?
Sejal, do you want?
Actually, no, what I was going to suggest is actually there are quite a few questions, one of which that I also got on Slack right now, which is a continuation of like, what are the expectations of a senior data engineer? So maybe any career related questions we can just summarize and share some resources regarding on Slack later after this call. And maybe we can address a few more questions because we are just having like 7 minutes remaining. And I also need 2 minutes to cover some part of week 2, what to expect and what we currently have, and when can you expect the rest of the material. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think this actually will make a good maybe podcast episode if you know who can I invite as a guest to talk about that. Maybe Ankush. I don't know.
Let's talk about that privately.
Yeah. Sorry. Anyways, so Sejal, do you want to talk about this now or a bit later?
I think we should do it now. It's only 6 minutes more.
About week 2 or this question? Do you reckon?
About
the week, yeah.
Week 2, right?
Week
yeah,
2.
I just wanted to let everyone know that we are currently still updating our course material for week 2. And we already have a few videos online on YouTube. I think some of you must have already checked it out. And last week we had issues. I mean, there were some complaints regarding they don't students do not know which order to follow basically to see these videos. So Alexei has helped prepare a structure on that it's separated on the main page of the GitHub repository, that is the main README, as well as there are like sequence numbers associated to each episode here, so that you know in which sequence you're supposed to view the videos. So yeah, for today, at least you can, for those who have already finished week 1, you can continue with the concepts covered in week 2, which is data lake, workflow orchestration. The transfer service is more of a best practices sort of stuff. So we thought of keeping it towards the end, but because Ankush was faster than me in creating and uploading his material, so we already have that. But yeah, it really won't confuse you. All of these are like independent topics. Regarding the Airflow workshop, I'm almost finished updating it. So I think the videos would be available from tomorrow. And yeah, so in case you guys are waiting, yeah, it will be available tomorrow. Just the GitHub README workshop is, the GitHub repository workshop is not completely updated. So in case you're already trying the workshop and you run into any errors, I just have to let you know that it's not completely updated. So yeah, just wait for it under tomorrow. That's all.
And I'm sharing the screen to show you that there are already videos. You see this one that starts with 2 are videos for this week. Okay. I think I should go back. So should we take a couple of more questions? So what is the scenario for data engineering jobs in terms of backend development knowledge? So I think the question asks how much backend development knowledge do data engineers need?
Yeah, maybe I can take it. So this would again really depend upon the kind of job as a data engineer you would be doing. So if you're doing an analytical engineering, data engineering job, or an ML ops or a machine learning data engineering job, backend development might not be a very interesting topic, or might not really help you the knowledge of backend development. But if you are doing data engineering in terms of data products, maybe doing a lot of real-time streaming and working with a lot of microservices, then this becomes really important and really interesting, because now you can use or combine your knowledge of backend development and can now use maybe a NoSQL technology to build a data product. You can use Kafka to do streaming into your data product. So in those cases, the backend development knowledge becomes really helpful, and you can really excel in your job because of your background. On the other side, I would also say that backend development knowledge, if you are learning in terms of SQL and connecting sources or microservices, they will anyways help you in the future, because that's the future we are going towards as a software development group, right? So I guess I think there's a saying, right? Like no knowledge is lost. So there would never be the case that you cannot use your backend development knowledge, but you would use it more in terms of if you are building a data product. Anything to add?
Yeah, maybe then we should ask ourselves what is actually backend development knowledge. If we're talking about general software engineering principles, or we're talking about how to use a specific microservice framework. And then, yeah, maybe this microservice framework you will not need for data engineering. Maybe you will, who knows? You never know. But the general software engineering principles and practices, they apply for any engineering job. So that will be useful for sure. And I think the skills of backend engineers, they will translate to data engineers, machine learning engineers, any sort of engineers. Okay, I think we have time for one more question. So is it possible to have, is it possible to have ETL process but for data lakes, or ETL has to be a data warehouse and ETL to somebody who knows the difference should answer.
This is part of your next week course. So if you look into the first video, you will find the answer there. So we can skip this, I guess.
Does it mean we want to take one more, or?
We can try. We are already on time. But we can maybe try to give a small answer.
So this question is about stored procedures, functions, views, and in existing databases coupled with other code. I feel very sorry for you if you need to deal with that at work. But yeah, I don't really have experience with that. Does anyone of you have?
No,
I
don't.
used to when I was working with Oracle, but it was like a long time ago. So let me reread the question. Can you explain how to apply or organize version control? Oh, okay. Over all the stored procedures, functions, views in existing database coupled with other code. Yeah, I'm assuming the one who's written this question is still working with like some legacy databases like Oracle. I really don't have an answer to this either. I guess I would just talk in more generic terms about CI/CD pipelines and putting your wherever you're deploying your infrastructure, basically that is where or wherever you are deploying your schemas. Yeah, I think that would be a better place to keep these things in.
Maybe using Git.
Yeah, but I think the code, the issue here is because the code is stored on the database itself. So you cannot easily version control it. So somebody at some point thought it's a good idea to let databases run some arbitrary code like triggers.
Possibly Victoria would be able to answer it in case there is any coupling of CI/CD pipelines with DBT pipelines. I don't know. Just guessing.
But I think usually what people do these days is they try to extract this logic and put it into your backend instead of, so move this from database and put it to backend where you can version control this. I think, let me stop sharing my screen. There were a lot of questions, so maybe next time we will be able to take some of them. But remember to use Slack. We have a lot of great channels there. You can ask there. You can ask in the course channel, in careers question channel, engineering channel. So we have all sorts of channels, so you can ask your question there. And, yeah, thanks for your time and enjoy learning.
Bye, guys. Have a nice week.
Bye.
And, yeah, thanks. Thank you for joining. Thank you too for joining and answering the questions as well. So, yeah.